They say your wedding day is supposed to be the happiest day of your life. Mine was the day I discovered I'd married a monster. My name is Evangeline Ashford, and 6 hours ago, I became Mrs. Dante Morelli in a ceremony that cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. The reception was still going on downstairs, champagne flowing like water, when my husband of less than a day cornered me in our honeymoon suite and said the words that shattered everything: "I want a divorce. I'm in love with someone else." But here's where it gets twisted. Dante didn't just want out of our marriage. He wanted me to play along with a sick game I didn't understand yet. He wanted me to stay married to him publicly while he carried on with her, whoever she was, behind closed doors. And when I refused, when I tried to walk away with whatever dignity I had left, that's when things got really dark. Because Dante Morelli isn't just a billionaire tech mogul with more money than God. He's something far more dangerous. And the woman he claims to love, she's not who he says she is. Nothing is what it seems in this nightmare I've stumbled into, and by the time I figure out the truth, it might already be too late to save myself. The first twist came when I discovered I couldn't leave. Not because Dante threatened me, though that came later, but because someone was watching the penthouse. Someone who sent me a single photograph slipped under our door at 2 in the morning. It was a picture of my younger sister, Maya, walking to her college dorm. She had no idea she was being photographed. No idea she'd just become leverage in a game I still didn't understand. The second twist was Dante's reaction when I showed him the photo. I expected anger, denial, maybe even concern. What I got was something that made my blood run cold. Recognition. He knew exactly who had sent it, and for the first time since our wedding, I saw genuine fear flash across his devastatingly handsome face before he buried it behind that impenetrable mask of control he wore so well. "You need to trust me, Evangeline," he said, his dark eyes boring into mine with an intensity that made it hard to breathe. "Everything I'm doing to protect you. Protect me." The man who just asked for a divorce to be with another woman wanted me to believe he was protecting me. I should have laughed in his face. I should have called the police. Instead, I found myself drowning in those obsidian eyes and wondering what kind of hell I'd walked into. The third twist came during our staged breakfast the next morning, when Dante's business partner, Julian Cross, stopped by unexpectedly. Julian was everything Dante wasn't: warm, approachable, genuinely concerned about my well-being. He pulled me aside while Dante took a phone call and whispered urgently, "Whatever he's told you is a lie, Evangeline. He's not who you think he is. The woman he claims to love doesn't exist. And if you stay here, you'll disappear too, just like the others." The others? What others? Before I could ask, Dante returned, and the temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. The look that passed between the two men was pure violence barely contained. Julian left quickly, but not before pressing a business card into my palm when Dante wasn't looking. On the back, he'd written a single word: run. But I couldn't run. Not with Maya's photo still burning a hole in my mind. Not with the security detail that had mysteriously appeared outside our penthouse overnight. And certainly not with the strange text message I received that afternoon from an unknown number. "Did he tell you what happened to his first wife? Ask him about Valentina. Ask him why they never found her body." First wife. Dante had never mentioned being married before. In our whirlwind 6-month courtship, he'd presented himself as a confirmed bachelor who'd finally found the woman he wanted to spend his life with. Me. The art curator from Brooklyn who'd caught his eye at a gallery opening. The ordinary girl who'd somehow captured the attention of one of the most powerful men in New York. Except I was beginning to realize that nothing about our meeting had been chance. Nothing about our romance had been real. And the more I discovered about Dante Morelli, the more I understood that I wasn't his wife. I was his prisoner. Or worse, his accomplice in something I couldn't yet name. The fourth twist came that night when I decided to do what any terrified, confused woman would do. I pretended to go to bed early, then snuck into Dante's private study, the one room in our massive penthouse he'd specifically told me was off limits. What I found there changed everything. Files. Dozens of them. All on me. Photographs dating back years, some from before we'd supposedly met. Records of my daily routines, my friends, my family, my habits. Bank statements showing unexplained deposits into my accounts over the past 2 years, small enough to go unnoticed but large enough to add up to a significant sum. And at the center of it all, a contract. Not a marriage contract, but something else entirely. Something that made my stomach turn and my hands shake as I read the terms. I was being framed for something. Something catastrophic. And Dante had spent 2 years setting it up. I was so engrossed in the documents that I didn't hear him enter until he spoke from the doorway, his voice deadly calm. "I told you not to come in here, Evangeline." I spun around, clutching the contract to my chest, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. "What is this? What have you done to me?" He closed the door behind him with a soft click that sounded as final as a coffin lid closing. What I had to do. What they forced me to do when they took her. Took who? Valentina? Your mysterious lover? Or are you talking about your first wife, the one you've been lying about? Something fractured in his expression then, a crack in that perfect control, and what bled through was so raw and agonizing that it almost made me forget he was the villain in this story. Almost. "They're the same person," he said quietly. "Valentina is my wife. My first wife. My only wife until they made me marry you. And they didn't just take her, Evangeline. They buried her alive 3 years ago, and they've been keeping her that way ever since, feeding her through tubes, keeping her in a coma, using her as leverage to make me do unspeakable things. Including marrying you and setting you up to take the fall for crimes I committed under duress." The room spun. Nothing made sense. If what he was saying was true, then he was as much a victim as I was. But if it was true, why had he made our wedding night a nightmare? Why the cruelty? Why not just tell me the truth from the beginning? As if reading my mind, he continued, his voice thick with something that might have been regret. "I had to make you hate me. I had to make everyone believe our marriage was falling apart immediately so that when the truth comes out, when the authorities come for both of us, your devastation and anger would be real. It's the only way to protect you from what's coming. Because, Evangeline, in 3 days, evidence is going to surface that you and I together embezzled $400 million from my company and funneled it to offshore accounts. Evidence that will destroy us both unless we can prove who's really behind it." "Who?" I whispered, though part of me already knew. The pieces were starting to fit together in a horrible picture. "Julian Cross," Dante said, and his expression turned murderous. "My business partner, my best friend since college, the man I trusted with everything. He's the one who orchestrated Valentina's kidnapping. He's the one who's been blackmailing me for 3 years, forcing me to help him slowly hollow out the company from the inside. And he's the one who chose you as our patsy because you're perfect, smart enough to be credible as my accomplice, vulnerable enough to be manipulated, and connected enough to me through genuine affection that no one would question our partnership. The business card Julian had given me felt like it was burning in my pocket. Had his concern been fake? Had his warning been part of the manipulation? Why are you telling me this now?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady even as my entire world collapsed around me. Dante crossed the room to me then, moving slowly, like he was approaching a wounded animal. When he reached me, he cupped my face in his hands with a gentleness that contradicted everything that had happened between us. "Because 3 days isn't enough time to find Valentina, expose Julian, and clear our names. But it might be enough time to save you if you're willing to trust me and do something absolutely insane." And that's when he told me his plan. A plan so reckless, so dangerous, so completely unhinged that it just might work. A plan that required me to get close to Julian, to make him believe I was falling for his manipulation, to gather evidence while Dante worked his contacts to find where Valentina was being held. A plan that would put me directly in the crosshairs of a man who'd already proven he was willing to bury someone alive. I should have said no. I should have taken Julian's advice and run as far and as fast as I could. But as I stood there, looking into Dante's haunted eyes, seeing the desperate hope mixed with crushing guilt, I realized something that terrified me more than all the revelations of the night. I believed him. Against all reason, against all evidence, I believed every word. And more than that, I wanted to save him. I wanted to save both of us. And I wanted to destroy Julian Cross for what he'd done. "Okay," I whispered. "Tell me what I need to do." His expression transformed, relief and something else, something intense and possessive and entirely inappropriate given our circumstances, flooding his features. "Thank you, Evangeline. When this is over, when Valentina is safe and Julian is in prison and you're finally free of me, I'll make sure you get everything you deserve. Money, safety, a life far away from this nightmare. But here's the thing about monsters and nightmares. Sometimes you discover you don't want to escape them. Sometimes you discover that the darkness suits you better than you ever imagined." And as Dante began outlining our strategy, as I listened to the dangerous game we were about to play, I felt something inside me shift and change. Something that had been sleeping my entire ordinary life suddenly woke up and stretched and smiled. My name is Evangeline Ashford Morelli, and my real wedding day, my real beginning, starts now. In 3 days, Julian Cross is going to learn that he chose the wrong Patsy. And Dante is going to learn that saving his first wife might cost him something he didn't even know he had left to lose, his heart. Because this story, it's just getting started. And trust me when I say that nothing, absolutely nothing you think you know about what's really happening here is true. The biggest twist is still coming. And it's going to destroy us all.